So now we're in using the R6 with the EF adapter, and we're in picture mode, and I've got the remote control attached because it's simply, with this kind of magnification, it's going to be so jiggly. I've been testing out an SVBONY Canon camera adapter for ED spotting scopes. It's kind of an interesting little setup. It only costs like 30 bucks, and it's well made, nice fit and finish. And it fits three really nice SVBONY spotting scopes. The SV46 80mm and the SV406P 65mm, which I have here, which is a nice small ED spotting scope that I tested out a few months ago, and I'll put a link to that in the description. And also the SV406P 80mm, just like this, only a little bigger. It's designed to fit Canon EF cameras. So the way this works on this scope is it fits firmly down on the collar of the eyepiece, and then you tighten these three screws to get it centered on here, and then this piece goes on and it fits in this little channel with a set screw, and then you tighten it down hard and put it down firm on the eyepiece, and then the actual camera adapter fits on here, and it has three set screws with a little Allen wrench so you can align it so that your camera mount is in the right position. You can mount it in any number of positions. In most of the cases you're going to want your red dot right about here, but once you get the camera on there you can make the final adjustments, and then you loosen this and release it up like this to adjust your magnification, and then put it back down and lock it. Here's the adapter, and here's a Canon EF body, and it just fits in there real nicely. And then of course it fits on the scope, just like a regular EF lens. Now of course when you use this, it's totally manual, especially the focus. If you're used to autofocus, you got to do all the focusing manually, which makes this nice because this has a close focus and then it has a fine detail focus. And when you're super zoomed in like this thing is, focusing is your biggest challenge because you got to do it manually. The Canon camera is not even going to know the lens is there, so you have to go in the menu and select Release Shutter Without Lens and put it to the on position so that your shutter will work properly with the totally manual lens. It's a total manual setup. It only costs 30 bucks, so if you have a Canon camera around and you want to have a little fun and you already have the scope, you can't go wrong with just trying this. Not much money invested in it, and with a little practice and patience, you can have some fun with it. So then the other thing that's interesting, the mount fits real nicely on the Canon EF body, but here's a Canon R series mirrorless EF adapter, and of course it's like an EF lens, so it just fits right on like that. And then you can attach a Canon R6 body with a battery pack. So you lock the EF adapter on your R body camera, and then it goes right on here, and you just set it up and lock it down with the set screws, and you can see how nice and firm that locks in there, and no light leakage. And everything is set manually. Shutter speed. Of course, the aperture is going to show up as 00 on your camera. It's fixed. Your biggest challenge, of course, is going to be fine-tuning the focus, which means that when you have this on a tripod, you better have a really solid, firm mounted tripod and a good ball head to be able to move this where you want it to move it on a small bird or something, and get the focus just right. The bottom line for this unit is that it's real well made, nice fit and finish for a Canon camera to attach to an SVBONY scope. Now it may fit some other scopes as well. What you want to do is, I'll put a link in the description, a link to the page on Amazon where it shows the exact dimensions of this, that it may fit some other scopes, and you want to check those dimensions. It's going to be a real challenge to get really clear photography with this, but it takes, like I said, a little patience and persistence. And here's the SVBONY scope and adapter with the EF camera attached to it. Again, it comes with the standard Canon EF lens mount, and this older Rebel T5i or any Canon EF camera will attach to it. And the R series mirrorless camera is just attached when you use the Canon R adapter. So, the adapter works fine. It's really just going to be a matter of persistence and practice to get it dialed in right and working with your particular camera. A lightweight camera like the T5i might not have all the bells and whistles of the mirrorless cameras, especially the bigger R6 and R5s, but it's a whole lot easier to work with on a smaller lightweight tripod and a lightweight setup. Here's my Canon R6 mounted on the SVBONY ED spotting scope with the SVBONY Canon EF adapter and the Canon R adapter. Now you got to make sure that this is on a really strong tripod. This tripod that I'm on right now is a lightweight tripod, and this is kind of marginal really, because there's a lot of weight on the back of your spotting scope, and when you're really zoomed in like you are with the spotting scope, focus and movement is really critical. So you really need a solid heavy-duty tripod. The ball head really makes a lot of difference, because you're so zoomed in that if you have a little bit of play in the ball head or throughout the mechanisms of the tripod, or the tripod's not heavy, you're going to have a hard time getting it set up just right. And so it really just takes some patience and practice. You want to make sure that you keep track of the collar and make sure you tighten it throughout the day and keep it nice and snug here, because there is a tremendous amount of weight leverage on the back end of the scope here on the mount. But the mount is made out of I believe it's aluminum. It's real lightweight and strong, but you just still have to keep an eye on it. And again, the R mount works fine. So now we're using the R6 with the EF adapter, and we're in picture mode, and I've got the remote control attached, because it's simply, with this kind of magnification, it's going to be so jiggly. You can see there's the R6 screen, and we're in total manual mode. You can't obviously adjust the aperture. It's going to show up as f/0.0 because there's no electrical connection with the lens. But you can adjust shutter speed, the ISO, and the exposure control, and the white balance, and things like that. Use a Canon wireless remote or equivalent, or use the Canon Camera Connect app with your smartphone to control the camera. Using this app can also aid in getting a good focus with such short depth of field. I wouldn't try using a cable remote because it's more prone to jiggle, especially if it's windy. The slightest movement at this high magnification will cause blurry imagery. And I'm purposely shooting from a far distance. You can see, I'm going to show you where the birds are on my cell phone, but you won't even be able to see them. But they are out there about 90 feet away. If you already have an SVBONY or compatible ED spotting scope and a Canon EOS or R series camera, you can't go wrong experimenting with this product for the small amount of money involved. If you have a Canon R series, you probably already have an EF adapter. But having said all that, if you already have a compatible SVBONY ED scope or are contemplating getting one, another option to consider instead of using your DSLR is to pair an SVBONY SV406P ED spotting scope with their SC1 integrated Wi-Fi camera that replaces the scope eyepiece, and I tested that a few months ago. It can be had for around $100, and I really love this setup, and it gives some great results. And for simplicity, ease of use, small footprint, and lightweight to improve mobility, that might be something to really consider. I'll have an update on this SVBONY scope and the add-on SC01 camera out before Christmas. But for now, here's an example. And few birds say holiday spirit like northern cardinals and painted buntings.